The episode starts with Tom visiting Flynn and Monroe. He stands by nearly 60 minutes outside prior to getting brought in for the meeting where Mr. Flynn and Monroe wish to allot Tom some errand while the undertaking is being talked about. Flynn and Tom get into a kind of contention about Tom's high level of inadequacy. Tom gets a little unsettled and protective, however Monroe figures out how to quiet him down and send him to complete the mission within reach somewhere else. Aaron is grieved by the news he had gotten. Rachel lets Aaron know that the worldwide blackout was brought about by quadrillions of infinitesimal programmable nanites that execute just two orders: ingest power and reproduce. The possibility that these nanites were all over the place and programmable apparently shakes Aaron. They had finished the world by delivering the nanites that were replicating at an disturbing rate, in spite of the fact that Rachel doesn't know how the nanites ran wild. She lets Aaron know that the nanites could be separated from the pinnacle, which is in Colorado anyway. When Aaron inquires as to whether she would go with him, she doesn't appear to think often about what occurs with the nanites, thinking that they would presumably pass on, assuming they go there. Tom had home and is gone up against by Julia, who is not content with the manner in which Tom is managing with his work. She moans before Tom inquiring him how long they need to imagine like their child Jason is dead anyway. Since Monroe has begun to think Dom's devotion, he advises Julia to hold it down for the second. The following day Tom heads for his main goal and is riding through an deserted road. Out of nowhere his vehicle is toppled by a blast and he is caught by a gathering of revolutionaries drove by. Miles and his gathering take Tom back to their base for addressing. Ratio sees them acquiring the man and asks when they will kill him. Anyway, Miles tells her that they would not kill him and rather torment him for data. Michelle contends that the measure of homicide and confusion that Tom has brought makes him meriting a demise sentence. Anyway, Miles stands firm. The cross-examinations started in Miles leaves no stone unturned with regards to beating up Tom, yet the tactical man isn't going to surrender so soon, sadly for Tom. However, his torment was simply getting begun. That evening Rachel takes the chance of being distant from everyone else and chooses to kill Tom herself anyway, similarly as she is going to go into the detainees' room. She is come by Charlie outside. Jason shows up at the renegade camp and smacks Miles for how he treated his mother. He can't exactly pardon the man at this time. Anyway, Jason's appearance permits the radicals to execute a superior arrangement to remove Data. Jason has driven into the jail cell where he professes to care about his dad's beliefs, and he behaves like he will free the man. Com unintentionally uncovers his objective to his alleged savior just to be recovered and sold out by his own child. With the freshly discovered Data, the dissidents planned to go to where Tom uncovered. On the other hand, chatting with his child did carry a decent to Tom, as well as he figures out how to snatch himself a free nail from the floor when the radicals have left. Tom professes to admit his wrongdoings and utilizes the chance to kill two of his standing gatekeepers. He then, at that point, advances toward Philadelphia and escapes with Julia. Previously, Monroe learns of his botch. On the other hand, the renegades came to the area uncovered by Tom to view as an trade occurring. When they reach there, they are engaged with a gunfight. Also, not many of the renegades are shot dead, while Miles and his team additionally figured out how to kill a portion of the restricting armed force men. The rebels anyway can't stop the trade from occurring, and the culprits got away from monitored by the military. Inside the area, they see that as Randall has constructed an atomic weapon. The trade prior was for a similar weapon. Furthermore, Randall has now taken the atomic bomb back to Philadelphia. Rachel and Charlie start gradually fixing their relationship just to be pulled separated again as Rachel sets out on a mission to offer to set things straight for her past activities and re-establish the power, taking Aaron with her on a self-destruction mission to the pinnacle. Back at his office, word has at long last reached Monroe that Tom and his better half had escaped the city the previous evening. Not in the least does his witness inform him concerning Tom's disloyalty. He likewise makes sense of that a portion of their spies had spotted Jason well and alive. Jason was additionally working with the agitators. Distrustfulness strikes his. Monroe processes the Data the frenzied man shoots a similar source, dead, incapable to choose on the off chance that he can trust the man's assertion or not. The agitators are upset by their new Revelation of the atomic weapon. Miles has chosen to make a move and has currently dispatched a couple of surveillance groups. One of the covert agents that Miles had sent returns vigorously injured and gives him the area so Miles Charlie. Furthermore, Nora penetrate the spot when the three go into the house cautiously. They understand that every one of the fighters there have as of now been killed conceivably by Monroe's men. There was no indication of battle and each warrior had a headshot twisted as Miles drops to his knees to strip one of the officers from his garments and weapon. He sees a blade, his knife, and understands that this was crafted by his protege Alec. Rachel and Aaron, on the other hand, are gone to the pinnacle through the obscure wild of the backwoods when they are out of nowhere caught by two men. The men appear to be outlaws, however they don't plan to take anything from them, rather they take hold of Rashiel to drive themselves upon her anyway. Similarly, as one of the men snatches Rashiel and different focuses a weapon at Aaron, something happens. The man with the weapon begins getting fomented and his eyes become red until he tumbles to the ground. The other criminal goes to help his partner and experiences a comparative 8. They start wrecking from within and the grass around them becomes dark. Rashiel and Aaron watch with sickening dread as the two criminals consume to their demise from nothing as they stay there baffled from the shadows of figure scenes. Jane, Miles, Charlie and Nora at long last arrive at Atlanta, where they suspect Monroe has instructed Alec to put the atomic gadget there. Three choose to separate in the occupied roads to search for the pendant that can power up the atomic gadget. As Miles heads into an unfilled road, he rapidly runs over Alec. The two of them had something similar thought regarding where to look for the pendant. The two in a split second get into a blade battle, and it's obvious that Alec is far more grounded than his educator. Alec very quickly curbs Miles, however. Charlie acts the hero in the nick of time. What's more, hits Alec with a crossbow. Miles rapidly races away with his sack, and Charlie seeks after the man through the roads. Even unharmed, Miles races after his previous understudy. By and by, Charlie loses Alec, yet Miles figures out how to get up to speed to him. This time Alec has taken a cop prisoner and kills the man. He tosses the body towards Miles and runs away, yet before Miles escaped the area, he is secured by different police. Somewhere else, Jane takes Rachella and Aaron back to her home in No Place, and there they find that Beth and Danny are as yet alive in light of the fact that of the nanites have disease eating skills which are keeping the two of them alive. Jane trusts that if Rachel closes down the nanites and re-establishes the power, Beth will pass on, and is hesitant to give her the assistance that she wants anyway. At Beth's encouraging, she furnishes Rachel with her specialized diary, which is data that will grant Rachel to switch off the nanites if she arrives at the pinnacle. Alec figures out how to find Charlie, or subsequent to managing Miles. However, the young lady ends up being his equivalent, so the attempts to play mind games with her during the fight. Alec tells Charlie to ask Miles what he did to Rachel. All at once, Monroe utilizes a helicopter to drop pamphlets over Atlanta, requesting unqualified acquiescence with dangers of a fast-approaching atomic assault. Miles is caught by Georgia police and ends up having had an individual relationship with Georgia organization President Kelly Cultivate, who eventually liberates him to track down Alec in the wake of being liberated. Miles figures out how to find Alec and kills him similarly as Monroe orders Alec to explode the nuke after the atomic weapon has been incapacitated. Charlie inquires Miles about Rachel, and Miles replies just that he harms anybody near him. Miles is then brought to the president's office, where evidently he had turned in the atomic gadget without that's what the radioactive material expecting they would utilize it to make an atomic weapon themselves. President Cultivate isn't disappointed by these subtleties. What annoys her is the way that Monroe is attempting to menace her and her country for no obvious reason. They have power, knowing that her kinsman twofold the quantity of Monroe's. President Cultivate announces battle on the Monorail Republic and offers Miles order of a military comprised of 200 troopers from the Georgia Alliance to assist the dissidents with opening a subsequent front inside the Monroe Republic. In a flashback, we see that 7 years later, the power outage, Miles gives Alec a fortunate blade from Miles' father and granddad, which he advises Alec to give to his own child when he has one anyway. 9 years after the power outage, Miles has his Troops give Alec to Texas later. Alec's endeavor to kill the Texas Pioneer fizzled and the Pioneer could recognize Alec they couldn't bear to go in battle with Texas, and that was the as it were method for managing the issue and lament that Miles conveys with him till today. Miles is presently in charge of the consolidated rebel powers and 200 Georgian soldiers. His catch of 3 southern stations of the Monroe Republic draws the consideration of Monroe, who reminds Jeremy that the civilian army began with a couple of little triumphs. Monroe, Jeremy, and a few troops venture out by helicopter to Miles and Monroe's old neighborhood and gather together all the residents, including Emma, Miles' previous life partner and Base Monroe's previous sweetheart. What's more, Monroe sends a sprinter to Miles, expressing that he will execute everybody if Miles doesn't come alone and give up. In spite of the fact that Miles slips from camp at night, he is subsequently trailed by Charlie, Nora, Jim Hudson, and some Georgian warriors. In the fight that results, Emma tells Base that she brought forth his child while he and Miles were away in boot camp. However, she is then killed by a Georgian official attempting to shoot Monroe. Miles shoots and kills the Georgian official.